And Doug, I will turn it over to you. For those of you joining,
although I'm sorry.
Mary Shea is also on again as our marine systems engineer. She joined us for the MET-MEO presentation to answer some questions, but this is definitely her forte and her major. Doug, it's all you.
Okay, so I don't know how the sound is. I'm in a lab space in the American Bureau of Shipping Center. This is our newest lab space. It has eight labs, 4 classrooms, faculty offices, things like that. So I'm in the hydraulics lab right now. I don't know how you can see behind me. This is our hydraulics trainer, and just to start things off here before we get into PowerPoint fun. This is like, a trainer that we use in these labs. This would be a lab that you would take in any of the engineering programs, actually, that you might take here. No quick connects. Get a wrench, right? We put all this stuff together. This is brand new stuff. We just got this last year. It's all set up, and this is it's really been a good thing for us here to have this new lab space. So hopefully that gives you an idea of just something we have here on campus. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Hopefully this works. How do you share the desktop? Well, we'll try this. Okay, can you guys see that? All right, so I do have just a little bit of PowerPoint here to go through. I do want to go through it pretty quickly so we have time to talk with Mary and answer questions and things like that. So let me just get started here. I'm going to leave it like this instead of doing the presentation. So marine systems engineering is kind of a weird name. Don't be confused with a systems engineering program. We're engineers of marine systems. There should kind of be a pause in there. We're accredited the same as a naval architecture marine engineering program from some of the other schools that do that, like Michigan or Coast Guard Academy or Webb or any of those. So that's really what we are. So I'm the coordinator for the Marine Systems Engineering program. My job here is to introduce you to it, describe it. I definitely want to answer questions if you have them. I'm not viewing the chat right now, but we'll have a look at that here in a minute. And to convince you to consider us for your job. So what is engineering? Well, engineering and science, right? Where's the line? So engineers' job is to solve problems that there is no perfect solution. We don't have the exact solution, but we still have to go build things that society needs. And that's really what being an engineer is. So, there's some math problems that are unsolvable. Well, we still got to go build something, right? So we kind of toe the line between, the application and the science, and we have to find that answer, okay? And as mentioned earlier, liberal arts, communication, technical communication is very important. I know a lot of engineers, including myself when I was undergraduate, we just wanted to kind of do engineering, but the communication part and being able to write is extremely important. So I'll just echo that from my colleagues from earlier. So here that kind of drives home my point from a second ago, right? Where's the line between engineering and science and application versus pure research? So this kind of gives you the spectrum here, and I do want to draw on our other programs here because there's kind of a lot of confusion between, they're all called engineering, but which one's which and how are they accredited, which one is best for you. I actually teach across all the engineering curricula here. I have students in every single engineering program that we have. So I just want to be sure that you find the best fit for what you want to do. But at the same time, I'm the coordinator for the hardest one, right? So for the most difficult one. So my suggestion is do the most difficult thing you can, right? If you're cut out for this high level math and engineering, do that one, right? Do the toughest one you can, and that's gonna lead you to a lot of options. All right, so just to look at the accreditation for a minute, this does really get kind of confusing. So I made this little chart here. There's a lot of alphabet soup on here. We're all accredited by the regional NEASC accreditation. Every program here at the school is. But when you get into ABET, that's the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. And honestly, I would encourage you, no matter where you go, to make sure that your program is accredited by ABET if you're in engineering or engineering technology. But here on campus, there's all of them, right? So MET and PET are accredited by ABET under, see that ETAC? That T is important, that's the technology accreditation. MEO and PEO are not accredited by that. MET and PET are. Those are our marine and power side programs. MSE is our only program accredited at the engineering level by ABET, EAC, Engineering Accreditation Commission. So we're it. We're the only accredited program at that level at Maine Maritime. So I just want to make sure that you guys can sort that out a little bit. Now, what is that going to get you? So here it is again, right? Here's engineering. You can see there is currently no power equivalent to that for the EAC level engineering accreditation. And then you see the technology and operations. Now, the blue is your Coast Guard license. Okay, that's your unlimited third assistant engineer Coast Guard license, and you can get that in all of our marine programs. The green is your stationary power license, and you get that in the power programs. The purple is your professional engineer licensure track. That's how you become a PE. Okay, so you'll notice that the purple exists in both engineering and engineering technology. All right, as an engineering operations student, you would not be able to sit for that exam. You would not be able to get that license, that professional license. It is going to be, if this is what you want to do, Maine's one of the few states that lets engineering technology students sit for the test. If you want to become a professional engineer, MSE is your best path. Okay, it is more difficult to get through the exam as an engineering technology student. Students do it, but engineering is the way to go. Okay. Again, if you guys, I know this is confusing. And when I was looking at colleges, maybe I wasn't thinking about this as much. So if you have any questions about this stuff, please feel free to contact us later, and I'd be happy to answer those via email or however you want to do it. Here's again a picture of that licensure. So you got your Marine on the left, all the way up to Chief Engineer. That's your Coast Guard license. You got your stationary power in the middle for your power programs, and then for engineering or engineering technology, you have a path to become a professional engineer. You would take your engineering training exam senior year, at the end of senior year, and then you would work out in industry for at least 5 and then be able to sit for your professional engineer's license. Okay. Now, here are the paths through the Marine Systems Engineering program. So last year, the 2019-2020 academic year was our first year to have a fully non-regiment path through the engineering program. So we're the only marine engineering program that we have here that has a non-regimental option at this point, okay? So these are your choices, okay? So if you want the Coast Guard license, you're gonna have to be in the regiment for the first 4 years, and then in the 5th year, you would have already sat for your exam, basically have your license and come back, and green is a non-regimental year there. The way we used to do it was we have everybody come in, do regiment the first year, go on cruise, and then decide. And ideally, I think that's the best way to go, is to go on cruise and decide at that point whether you want to get the Coast Guard license or not. So you see there, the one in the middle branches off after the first year into 2 paths that you get to pick. I want to stress that there's only one Marine Systems Engineering degree. Both paths lead to the same engineering degree, the MSE degree. One of them gets you the Coast Guard license. Either one of them gets you the professional engineer's path. Okay, so let's just make that clear that there's one degree, there's 2 paths. One of them adds on a Coast Guard license. Okay, and the far right is the new track where you can be non-regiment the entire time. Now, that shipboard experience is very important. We're very hands-on. As I showed you on this trainer here, we're a very hands-on school. I had an incident at my graduate school where a student in a naval architecture program who was a senior at the graduate school I went to, I said, oh, well, I sailed on this ship for my that shipping experience. And they said, oh, I've never been on a ship. So a senior in a naval art program who's never been on a ship, that works for some schools, that doesn't work for us. So we're really hands-on, right? So we got to get that shipboard experience. We have a 16,000 ton ship at our pier. It's a huge asset. It's right down the street. We're going to put you on that ship no matter what. So whichever path you end up taking, you're going to get on that ship. You're going to trace out the systems. You're going to understand what's going on. You know, the reason we go out on the ship as on the design side is working on the ship and talking to the crew, you will quickly realize what they think of some of the design decisions the engineers made, right? If they can't get to something to work on it and they can't fix it, or it's hard to work on, they're going to let you know. And that's an invaluable experience to get that as someone who's going to go design an engine room or a ship or anything else. So we really stress that kind of stuff here, okay? Just a little bit of background. I want to kind of hit the halfway mark here and turn it over to questions and let Mary talk about some things, including her internship, which was really good. So as there's the accreditation again. We're very small. We're 7% of the population within Maine Maritime. So your systems engineering classes, I mean, you take classes across engineering. Some of your classes are only MSE classes, and those are going to be small. Those are going to be 15 to 20 students. So we have a really nice ratio for those classes in the marine systems engineering curriculum. Okay, SAT scores we expect a lot for this program. We want you to be taking the AP courses. We really want you to be taking calculus and physics for this program. Okay. We do have quite a few undergraduate engineering R&D opportunities. A lot of the faculty does research projects, and we're not like a big research school. We're a teaching school. So if faculty are doing research, we bring the students into that. So I've had a project going for almost 10 years now, and I've graduated, I think I'm at 16 students have done their capstone on that project. So we integrate our research with undergraduate experience here. Okay, the careers are the flexibility out of MSE is fantastic. It's really, really good. And I put that last line on there because this is another myth I really want to dispel. It's not a desk job unless you want it to be. Okay, so if you want to work in a shipyard and you want to be out on the ships, functional engineering, you can do that. If you want the research job that's more of a desk job, that's what I started off with right out of school. And I like that, actually. That's something I was looking for. It can be that. It can be either one, but it's not going to lock you into being behind a desk all day long. Certainly not. Okay. Starting salaries are very good, and they go up from there. We have people in just a huge array of fields after leaving school, graduate school, military, R&D. People you go into IT and other non-engineering fields. You can transfer this into a lot of other skill sets. So the MSE degree just gives you a huge amount of flexibility. Okay. If you are thinking about grad school, which when I was 18 years old, I was not at all thinking about, this is really the one you want. If you want to do an engineering, if you want to do an engineering graduate school, master's degree, PhD work later, which again, I even said I was never going to get a PhD, and we see how that went. So you really you want to take this path if you want to go into an engineering graduate school program. Okay. There are quite a few scholarships. I think this has been discussed elsewhere, but ABS in particular, the folks who sponsored the building I'm sitting in, have been huge supporters of us, and they have given very generous scholarships. And in particular, some of that money is to help students defray the cost of that fifth year for people who are in the 5-year license track. So that's been a really helpful thing. Again, I want to go through this kind of quickly because I'm hitting the halfway through mark here. The training vessel is an enormous asset. I went to a naval art school. We didn't have that. It's really a great thing to have, to be able to go down on the ship. I take my classes down there. I take my ship structures class down there, and we crawl on the ship looking at the ship parts, right? It's right there. We do have a really world-class diesel engine emissions testing laboratory on the waterfront here at Maine Maritime, which someone else could. It would be an hour to talk about all the great things they're doing down there at that lab. So a lot of combustion, environmental, you know, how are we going to meet the new pollution regulations with new fuels and lubricants and things like that. We can do all that stuff down there. And again, I will show quickly my project. I do more naval architecture type stuff. So I designed a trimaran lobster boat, which we tested. Gotten a bunch of students involved in this project. There's a model test of it we did down in Hoboken, New Jersey. We now have the capability to do computational fluid dynamics here on campus. There's a computer 2 floors up running a 6-hour simulation right now to do this for a capstone project that we're doing remotely right now. So the students have remote access to that workstation, and they're doing their CFD work remotely. So really powerful tools that we can use to analyze flow overhauls and things like that. So we actually built one. It's 22 feet long. I just got it up here 2 weeks ago, barely in time, sitting on a trailer out at the Penobscot lot, waiting for sea trials. So that was the plan anyway, was sea trials this semester, but obviously that's not going to happen at this point, but we do have that asset here as well. So I want to open it up for questions. And I want Mary to be able to, maybe this would be a good time for that. Mary had a really good internship last summer. So maybe we could go ahead and have Mary talk about that now.
Hi, so first I'll talk a little bit about why I chose marine systems as opposed to MET or MEO, which I had considered all 3 of those majors. And then I'll talk a little bit about my internship. So coming in, I knew that if I chose MSE and then decided it was too difficult or I didn't want to do the full 5 years, it would be easier to switch to MET or MEO later on. So it kind of keeps the option open to do the 4 years or the 5 years. And then doing the regiment as well, that my freshman year left that option open to continue to get the Coast Guard license, or to then decide and just do the 4-year marine systems without the Coast Guard license. So I think that was a good choice for me. It left my options open so that I could get on campus and start taking classes and figure out, you know, what I wanted to do. I did an internship this past summer at Sea Machines Robotics in East Boston. They're a pretty small company. When I was working for them, there were about 30 employees. And they are building autonomous vessel technology that is in use right now in a few different sectors of industry. More intercoastal vessels like tugboats and oil spill response vessels. So I had a very hands-on internship. I was allowed to jump in on any project that interested me throughout the summer. And I was there for 3 months. And after that internship, the school was able to, you know, have a relationship with that company. And now one of the capstone projects that's going on is to bring that autonomous vessel technology to campus. So this whole year, my capstone group, which is 4 students and then a few faculty advisors, has been able to work with that company. And obviously going remote has hindered that project a little bit, but it will continue throughout the next couple of years. And as students come along, they'll be allowed to choose to work on that project. Just like Professor Reed has said, other students can choose to work on his project. So I think that the last year, the 5th year, is very valuable. You can choose, you know, what skills you want to develop further. You know, I didn't particularly want to move towards naval architecture. I wanted to move towards control systems engineering, and I was definitely able to do that. And you can make that choice for your 5th year and what you want to focus on. Another thing that's great with the Marine Systems Engineering program is that you have 5 years. So there's more time to add in electives or you know, pick up minors if you want to. Pretty much every one of my classmates has picked up at least 1 minor. I did get the minor in naval architecture, and then there's also an embedded math minor that you get because we take all of the math classes for our major. I'm trying to think of some other opportunities I've had. I've been able to be a TA for the control systems program, which means I've been able to work one-on-one with professors in the electronics lab. And I think that's been very valuable because as I'm teaching other students, I'm really honing my skills that I've learned over the past 4 years. And they really are solidifying for me before I move out into industry. And then, so that brings me to the options for graduation. I would love to work in design engineering someday, but I do want to get out on ships and get some hands-on experience, see what I see are issues on vessels and what I might like to see changed in the future. So I've joined a shipping union and plan to start shipping for a few years after graduation and then move back towards the control systems, engineering, and design sectors after that. Just saw one question pop up. It says, can I do an MSE program with a deck license? That is not something anyone's doing right now. So I guess that would be, double majoring, which would take a long time. But I don't know if you have anything to say about that, Kelly.
That would be a full double major, yeah.
I would say that one of the things that really leads students to do either deck or engine is the requirement of sailing days that the Coast Guard has. It would be impossible to do it in 5 years just because you need a certain amount of days on the engineering side, a certain amount of days on the deck side. But there are ways to get your, let's say, that other side license when you are actually working, if that's something that you're interested in. But there haven't been many, I think the last ones were like the late 80s, maybe early 90s, where you could actually do these programs with, a dual license. But it's just the requirements are too intense these days with what the STCWs require and seat time. So.
And one of the other questions that had popped up was about being able to choose between 4-year and 5-year marine systems after the first year. So as long as you were in the regiment for that first year, it should be a pretty seamless transition. You can, that's what one of the benefits of doing the regiment that first year is that you are not limiting your options. And then after that, you could kind of decide which program you want to go forward with.
I'm seeing another question about if I start in the 4-year program and join the regiment, can I then switch to the 5-year program? If you want to do that, I would go with the way we had this set up, was where the way I wanted it to work was everybody just comes in the first year, everybody's the same. And then you go on cruise and then you decide what you want to do. So if you think that you may want to do the 5-year, come in and do the regiment the first year and go on cruise freshman year. It's ideal. Come back from cruise and then decide. You will not be off in any way. The first year is the same. Your courses are all lockstep, so you won't have to make anything up or go back and pick up a class. So that's the way to do it. And cruise can count as that 4-year that ship familiarization program for the non-reg track, but the other way around doesn't count. So if you think you want to do the license, come in the regiment and do the 5-year track to start would be my advice.
I would echo what Professor Reed said about the value of going out on a vessel. Even if you never want to work on ships in the future, I think at least doing that freshman cruise for whether it be 35 or 70 days, depending on the cruising model for that year, just getting that experience and going out with your classmates, traveling around the world a little bit. I think it's a great experience no matter where you want to work in the future.
It really sets, both tracks are really good, but it really sets your resume apart when you're going out into the workforce, after you finish your undergraduate degree and you've got your unlimited tonnage Coast Guard license on your resume. That's really going to set you apart from a huge number of engineering degrees in the country.
Mary, can you talk about some of the clubs and activities that you're involved in, especially the ones around engineering?
I was muted. So on campus right now, we have a Woman on the Water Club, as well as a Society of Women Engineers Club. And that really focuses on networking and going out and visiting different companies. So that's actually through those clubs is how I got my internship at C Machines. The club went down to Boston for 2 days, and we toured the whole seaport, and we toured C Machines. And there have been different trips throughout the country that I've been able to do with Women on the Water and with the Society of Women Engineers, where you get to meet industry professionals. I've been to California and Texas and Michigan with those clubs as well. So I think that's great. And that's not just for women. Anyone can join that if they want networking experiences. There's also the Society of Naval Architects and Marine Engineers, and they kind of do the same thing. They go to different meetings. I know Professor Reed just this year went to Seattle, I believe, for a conference with them. And at those conferences, you can see up and coming projects that are going on around the world in your industry. So those are all great. I am also on the board of trustees as the student trustee. So I've done that through being involved with student government, and I applied to be on that board. And so I'm able to go to those meetings every couple of months and meet with administrators and meet with the board of trustees and bring the ideas of the students to them. So I think as involved as you want to be, you can be on campus. There's plenty of different clubs. Yeah, I'm always able to fill up my time.
Yeah, the professional society that you'd be part of is like Mary said, the Society of Naval Architects, Marine Engineers. We generally travel to the professional meetings, and there's an annual meeting every year. There's the Offshore Technology Conference in Texas that students like to go to. Huge opportunities to make network connections, to find jobs. There's a full 2-day student program at the annual meeting that rotates around the country. So definitely encourage people to get involved in their professional society as students. Any other questions showing up here?
Mary, what was your favorite part of the program over your 5 years?
I would say, honestly, the summer opportunities. Since my freshman year, I've been doing either shipping or co-ops on land every single year, and they're just great opportunities to take all the skills you've learned in the classroom and apply them. And I think when students come back in the fall, we all meet up and talk about our experiences, and we're able to bring those experiences into the classroom and draw on them in the lectures. And as Professor Reed said, our classes are very small. I've been in classes as small as 9 people. So the professors can stop the lecture, and we can bring in our own experiences. And it makes it a very dynamic classroom setting. It makes my time at school more valuable, and then it's great to be able to apply what I've learned and not have to wait until after senior year to apply what I've learned in the classroom. So I would like to mention as well that a lot of our classes are with the MET and MEO students. So we do the same exact summer cruise, and we do the same exact cadet shipping with companies. So I cadet shipped with Tyco Electronics, and I was on a cable ship called the Global Sentinel. So they lay communications cables on the ocean floor between continents, and I boarded that ship in Bermuda and was able to sail down to Curacao, which is off the coast of Venezuela, and then up the East Coast. So you're not losing any of that shipping experience that goes towards your U.S. Coast Guard license if you do the systems program.
Great, thank you both. We did put up Professor's email in the chat, so if you have any questions, and we will also be on later on today. We will be on for question and answer at 7:30 Eastern time. Mary, thank you. Doug, thank you very much.